Hello and welcome. Endwalker is right around the corner, and so I thought it might be congruent to go back and do some tips and tricks videos for new players that are just now getting into 14 with some things that maybe they don't think are quite as important as they really kind of are. Especially because as a player that's been playing for a while, it can be really easy to forget that gear is something that doesn't super get explained. It's just you get that one quest that forces you to equip better gear, and from then on, you can kind of just keep going with your bad gear. So hopefully by the end of this video, you'll understand gear a little better, and we'll be able to pay more attention to the gear that you have equipped. So why is gear so important? I'm not at the best that I could be, right? I'm at 510, which is pretty solid. My basic weapon is at 510, does 129 damage. My auto attack is 110.08 with a delay of 2.56. Those numbers, they're not going to mean anything to you when you're a new player, right? You're going to look at that and go, what does that mean? What do I need to focus on here? Why are there all these numbers? What are those slots for? So what we're going to do instead is we're going to break this down, and we're going to say, hey, what is important? And so to do that, I have brought a bunch of low-level weapons. So if we compare our weapons right here, we have, say, a level 45 pair of daggers, right? And that level 45 pair of daggers gives you a plus 11 to your dexterity, it gives you 32 damage, and it gives you plus 19 to your critical hit. You can run with this pair of daggers for a while, right? You can use them, it'll be great, they'll do really well. But when you hit level 50, you're going to want to upgrade daggers, right? And you say, well, obviously you want to do that. You hit level 50, you want to get the level 50 versions. But they're quite a bit better by not a small amount. 34 may not seem like a lot, but every one added on to your damage is just a flat increase. And then a plus 14 on dex, a plus 13 on vitality. It's just better all around. But you say, well, do I have to get new gear every 5 levels, or can I get new gear every 10 levels or every 20 levels? Basically, when you are leveling, anytime that you get to a new dungeon and it drops gear for you, that is when you should be getting new gear. If you are going through a dungeon and that dungeon is, say, level 40, but you have level 28 gear on, you are going to struggle. And you say, well, why is that? Well, for instance, if we look at, let's just compare, let's compare some gathering gear to my current chest piece. The defense, obviously, of a level 30 piece is really low. Now, the defense of my 510 piece, that is like high quality, crafted, that's great stuff, right? That's really good defense. But the difference between a piece of level 30 gear and a level 50 gear, again, we look at our level 34 baselards here. 21, 17, 2.56 versus the level 50 versions. I'm going to descent those as soon as this video is done. It's a pretty big gap. So honestly, every time that you have the opportunity as you're leveling to get new gear, you should be. And if your response is, well, I don't have to have it, so I'll just make it to 50, right? That's when all the big gears unlock anyway. I'll just make it from like 20 or 30 to 50. You are going to die a lot, and your party's not going to be happy with it. You need to be getting gear early on, sub-level 50. You need to be getting new gear roughly every 4 or 5 levels, right? If you can get it, a new weapon at the same time. Running dungeons is the best way to do that. You run the dungeons, they drop gear, you can pick up gear that way. Leveling but up to 50, people are going to be a little bit more lax about it. But from 50 on, from 50 to 60, every 2 to 3 levels you should be getting new gear. 60 to 70, every 2 to 3 levels you should be getting new gear. 70 to 80, every 2 or 3 levels you should be getting new gear, because that's when the dungeons unlock, where new gear becomes available. You say, well, I have terrible luck and I'm not getting new gear from dungeons. Okay, do you see the names that are on the bottom of my pieces of gear? Down in the bottom left corner? Those are crafted names, because I did not craft this gear myself, because even though I have my crafters, I'm getting there. I'm still not that good yet. But because someone else crafted this, I just bought it off the market board. And you may say, well, how do I get gil? That's another video we're going to do. And you may say, well, I shouldn't have to buy gear buying gear can be a really quick and easy way to raise your eye level when you're too low level. And you may say, well, why does eye level even matter? What is eye level? Item level is the combined level of your items, right? So, like, if I have everything at 510, then I will have an item level of 510. Well, why is item level important anyway, Trey? Well, it's kind of like a visual guide to how strong you are. And there will be some dungeons. Let's go to like a Heavensward dungeon. There will be some dungeons that have an eye level 105. If you don't hit that, you cannot go into the dungeon. So for instance, if you are saying, well, I'll just wait until I hit level 50 to get my new gear, there's going to be stuff you just can't run because you don't have a high enough eye level. And they do that because if you were to go in there with that low item level, you would die. So for instance, if I was to take this outfit, this crafting outfit, which obviously is not made for combat anyway, but it's like the only low-level outfit that I have my Blue Mage outfit. We can look at that one. Let's switch to my Blue Mage. Don't pay attention to how bad my Blue Mage glamour looks. This is a level 60 coat, right? Item level 230. Quite a bit weaker than my item level 510 chest piece. But even if we just compare it to this 430 Dragoon chest piece, the defense difference is insane. If I was to try and take this level 60 Hailstorm Code of Casting into a level 70 instance, I would be destroyed. It's just nuts the difference that it makes. And so we're going to talk about what these slots are for in a different video. We're going to talk about some of the other numbers, how to make gil more easily to be able to buy crafted gear if you don't want to level crafters, or you don't want to grind dungeons, or you get really unlucky with dungeons. But you want to be upgrading your gear at all times. So if you are leveling and you hit level 50 and you go, hey, I need some good level 50 gear. Well, let me show you. The best way to do it is to go spend these. Your Elegant Tomestones of Poetics. You can get level 50 gear. You can get level 60 gear. And I think soon you'll be able to get level 70 gear with it as well. From Mordona. Or from a couple different NPCs spread out around the game world. You can go and spend those Elegant Tomestones of Poetics. Get you some Ironworks gear for level 50. That is a great jumping off point. It's super cheap. It's honestly what I burn Poetics on at this point, and then just give it back to my Grand Company to be able to make seals. That'll be a different video talking about Grand Companies. But use your pose for 50 gear, and you're good to go until like 54 or 55. You can probably push it to 56, but after that, you should probably be looking at getting some new gear. From 60, use your pose again. Get you some... I forget the name of it, but it's the Charlian gear. You get that set, and you run that until like 65, 66, and then it's time to get new gear again. And then, again, by that point, you've got dungeons, you've got raids, you got a lot of opportunities to be able to get gear. And we'll get into raiding and gearing through raiding as well. But when you run specific instances, you will get things like these totems or... tomestones, special ones, depending on what you're running. Most of the time it'll be coin or special lost Allegan tomestone or something like that from those raids that can also be exchanged for gear. And this is not even talking about when you get to cap what you want to gear with. For instance, when you get to cap, you could decide, well, I'm going to gear with, and you're going to see my item levels are all over the place for what are my main jobs. I'm going to get my relic weapon, and I'm going to get some 440 Ronkin pieces, and then I'm going to get some good 510, and that gets me up to 478, which is not as good as it could be by far. There's a lot more that I could be using here to get my machinist, and I'm getting tomes, and I'm spending them first on tanks. My paladin is at 465 right now, and I'm trying to bring that number up because I want my tanks to be better geared than that. But you'll also get these tomes of revelation that can be spent on more expensive pieces to be able to bring your item levels up once you're at cap. But once you're at cap, the need for gear is less about getting higher leveled gear, and it's instead about getting higher item leveled gear, because the higher item level gear is going to have more stats to it. So for instance, if we look at my relic, which I haven't leveled my relic at all, I need to do that. But if we look at my relic daggers compared to my Exarchic daggers, there's a pretty big divide between the two. 5 full damage, a bunch of auto attack damage, and then the stats are a pretty big difference. Obviously, the skill speed is because of the materia, because I love to just jack up my skill speed and go as fast as possible. But once you're at cap, you're going to be looking for the item level specifically and for the higher stats over just the, hey, I'm at 50, I need a 50 piece of gear, you know? But I hope that this has done some to help with your questions about gear. If you have more questions about gear, please let me know in the comment section down below. If you are in a spot where you don't have a lot of gil and you don't have any good gear and you can't run anything because you don't have any good gear, there are some ways to get around this. If you go and do PvP, to be able to get wolf marks, you can get PvP gear really quickly. You get a lot of wolf marks for completing PvP roulettes. If you go into Palace of the Dead, you can get a really decent weapon at that point, but Palace doesn't count your stats. Your gear stats don't matter, so you can run in there even if you don't have a good set of gear. And then, of course, if you do hunts, you can turn in your Allied Seals or Centurio Seals for some gear. There's a lot of different options to be able to get gear. So please, if you are a new player, do not just say, well, I'll wait until I get to 50, because the gear is definitely important, and it's something you absolutely need to pay attention to. Gearing in this game is one of the most important things you can do, not just because of the stats, but also because glamour is the true endgame. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and until next time, I've been Trey, this has been The Full Spectrum. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that FF14 has to offer.